Yeah.
All right, we're okay.
There we go. Any second then. Welcome along to the Cardiff City phone-in once again. Not a lot of banter opportunities this evening, to be honest with you. Quite a lot to be fairly unhappy about. So we'll we're not going to oversugar the pill. We got another guest coming in, hopefully soon. Jonathan Wilkins, who's a friend of Steve Wiggins, which would be good. He was at the match on the weekend, travels all over the place, following the city, as do many other people. And we do have a fantastic fan base. We say it all the time on this show. We've got a fantastic fan base, and it's just horrible to see really them having to put up with such stuff at the moment. We're mid-table. We're not looking likely to go down, but things have been really, really, really poor. Last three games, Al Worth also with us tonight, of course, and Steve Wiggins. Last three games, 4-1 against 10. 3 straight defeats, down to 14th in the table, 1 win in 6. Apart from Christmas, which seemed to go fairly well. Ever since, things aren't great. And Al, it just seems like we've lost all sense of momentum. And it seems that the two words that spring to mind would immediately be momentum, and it looks like apparently morale.
Yeah, I've heard people say lost the dressing room. I don't know. I'm not at all sure really who's to blame in amongst all this, because we said last week, didn't we? The last good performance was Bristol City home at the end of October.
Wow, it's a long time, isn't it?
It is. I think a couple of victories and have sort of papered over the cracks, I think, and kept us within touching base of the playoffs. And now, obviously, we've tumbled out with the top half of the table.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you look at the fixture list, that our next 4 fixtures are against teams who are above us in the table. And now, we'd said last week, the week before, these games now, they're coming up thick and fast, aren't they? We've got six games in February. No doubt the squad needs strengthening. Bulut's come out in no uncertain terms. Whether or not you agree with the way that he went about it, I think he said what we're all thinking. I don't know whether that was lost in translation, Steve. I'm not sure, but he was very direct, wasn't he, in what he said. And obviously on a Sunday, then social media goes mad, doesn't it? There all sorts of rumours are flying around.
Yeah, it's kind of. I know Steve's got plenty to say on this. We bring Steve in a second. I suppose before I go to Steve, the thing is with it is these days more than ever, I think, with social media, there's so easy to so and so said this and so said that and la 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 la. And of course, he made a comment, during his post-match interview, went out on Radio Wales and all over the place. But at the moment, it's almost like a court case. Who's to blame here? Is it the manager? Is it the players? Do the owners of the club, the senior figures at the club, are they responsible for it, or is it probably kind of a combination of all of those things? But again, we really welcome the opinions of the City fans, so chip in with your comments. Steve, what's your thoughts?
Steve, I think it's a case for Hercule Poirot. What you were just saying.
First Belgian reference there, by the way.
See what I did there?
Yeah.
I don't just throw the links together. I think Mr. Bulut called the players out against Leeds, didn't he? After the game, saying that they gave Leeds too much respect, and then after the game at Plymouth, he decided to call the board out a little bit. So all the balls were definitely up in the air as I was listening to that interview on Saturday. Do you want my opinion on the game Saturday?
Let's have that. Yeah.
First, what I'd say first off, Steve, and the first thing when I saw the team sheet at 2:00, I couldn't believe that Ruben wasn't playing as a 10, and again he played in wide right. And the other thing, which has always baffled me, and I think I've mentioned it on here before, is we can't score a goal for love or money, yet we got Calvin Grant, who scored a shed load of goals for Charlton, Huddersfield and West Brom, but he refuses refuses to play Carlin Grant as a centre forward, and he started Carlin Grant in the 10 role on Saturday. That said, though, Steve and Al as well, I mean, we all know the first 20 minutes, it was bright, wasn't it? We were popping the ball round, lovely, and I thought, blimey, this is a lot better. But as soon as they scored that goal, a little bit of a sack marking and not closing down from Perry, we sort of faded a little bit then. And then when the side came out for the second half, I couldn't believe what Bulut had done again, because I mean, we played mostly this year with a back four. Then he changes to a back three and brings on Romeo and takes off Tanner, and then switches things around when he's got Bowler on the bench, who could just be an automatic swap. And then I see him. I mean, Plymouth smelled blood then straight away, didn't they? And when we changed things around, I thought Romeo did okay. I thought he took off probably two of our better players on Saturday in Meite and Rinamoto. I thought they were doing okay. But then I see him sort of halfway through the second half, and Winkle was, I was watching here, and Winkle was going, what? He was like this. And Bulut was going 5, 5, 5. So he's gone from 4 at the back to 3 at the back to 5 at the back. And the number of times Saturday, Steve, that I saw balls, and we all did, balls, players flat-footed, not knowing where other players were moving. It was chronic in the second half again. And like I said before we came on, it took me right back to the Ipswich game earlier in the season, where, again, I think Mr. Bulut cost us points that day. And that's my main concern, Steve, is Erol doesn't seem to be learning from his mistakes. There's a lot of tinkering during the game. And I actually went on, Radio Wales rang up and said, would you fancy going out? So I went on, and it likened, I thought the players didn't know what day it was, let alone they were playing a game of football in the second half. I don't know what you guys thought.
Yeah. So actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. It's totally unrelated to Cardiff City, but that's the nature of the phone in these days. By the way, people, the secret's out. The radio stations call you. John, Jonathan, are you able to hear us and talk to us? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to turn on your camera, because Steve said you're really handsome. I don't know if it was true.
I'm not very good with this. Am I doing it right?
Don't worry, we can hear you. Don't worry, Jonathan, if you can. Great. You were there on the weekend, yeah?
Yes, I was there. Yes.
So from the and Steve tells me that you go away a lot with the city. So I got, I made a comment on social media on the weekend, just genuinely on behalf of the show, just really feel sorry for the fans having to put up with that. It must have been really grim, John, to be there, yeah.
I agree with everything Steve says. Listened onto social media, and there's a lot of people that love Erol Bulut, but I just find this manager very negative and too defensive minded. He made those changes in the second half. He was playing for a 1-1 draw. He was trying to shut up shop, and as Steve said, Plymouth smelled blood, and that was it. But the first 20 minutes, I thought, oh, here we go. They're playing some nice football here. They're passing and their movement, and it was a little bit quicker, and they were pressing a bit more.
Yeah.
But once we took the 1-0 lead, they seemed to relax then, instead of going for the second goal, and for me, attack's a form of defence. But
yes,
he's cost us a few games this season, Erol Bulut. At Ipswich, when he slated Ollie Tanner off, and I thought at Ipswich he was our only outlet, and he was playing good. I thought he had a good game, and he decided to take him off. My motto is, if it's working, don't fix it. And he don't convince me at all, this manager,
and he never has for you, Jonathan. No.
Before the Swansea game, I had my doubts. I had my doubts, to be totally honest. And he's blaming everyone. He's blaming the players. Now he's blaming the board, but he's not looking at himself. And I find he's quite stubborn, as Steve quite rightly said. He is not learning by his mistakes. And as you know, Steve, repeating the same result, repeating the same thing and hoping for a different result is a sign of insanity,
Yeah. So, Jonathan, what was the kind of mood, amongst the City fans? How kind of unhappy were they as things went on?
As I left the ground with my mates, and I bumped into my old friend, who I got on very well, Frankie Humphries, who's been following the city for donkey's years. And he texted me today. He said, "Oh, how are you feeling, John? Because you were fuming Saturday." And I had, and I was spitting feathers. I was spitting feathers after the Leeds game, you know. And it's like I said to my mates, if you're playing against a team with a bit of quality, you got to go to basics. You got to be in their faces. You got to rough them up, like Bristol City did with West Ham the other night. West Ham didn't like it, and you back off
Yeah.
against teams like Leicester, Leeds, and you'll get punished. And that's what's been happening, you know. You got to be in their faces. You got to be like a pack of dogs in this league, you know.
Yeah.
But this manager, I'm sorry, but he ain't doing it for me. I'm sorry. That's
How
all
long
I
have you been following City then, John?
If you got to know me, Steve, you find I got a retentive memory. My first game with my late father in the captain stand on the benches, November 5th, 1977, beat Stoke 2-0. Peter
What a
Sayer and Luke
fantastic memory.
Dwyer scored.
That's right.
First away game, September 79. My father decided to take me on a special, and I thought, oh, I was looking at all the characters going on a special when I was a kid. I was thinking, this is not a good idea, Dad. This is not a good idea. So gets on a special. I'll never forget it as long as I live. And the City fan, you either jumped out, you saw Cumbrain was, you either jumped out, got thrown out, obviously in the tunnel, dead. The game hadn't kicked off yet. So gets up to Eastful, half hour late. And I said to my dad, quick, give me the money, quick, quick. Gets up the steps and his big open egg. And Pont and Jesse equalised, like 1-1, like, and the ground just erupted. I was hooked, I was hooked when he took down the first game, like, and my son's the same as well, like, you know, got a DNA in it. And you got to be a special breed to love Cardiff City, I'll tell you that.
What a fantastic story, John. I love that story. There's so many of us, you know, who started off going down there with their dads, and my dad's not around either, you know. So I mean, yeah, that's a lovely story. Thanks, John. Al, I don't know if there's any comments coming through you want to have a look at.
No, someone's just. I'm not sure if they're coming through actually, Steve, unless there's not that many people. Watching us or commenting. I made reference earlier, you know, to the next games coming up. Now, these next 4, we've got 3 of those away. Okay, if we don't get anything out of these 4, and I think that's perfectly feasible. Actually, we won't get anything. Is that going to be because we haven't had many signings, or is that going to be because the manager's not up to it? Now, at the moment, we've got. I'm playing devil's advocate, but at the moment, we're 2.5 months since I think we've put in a good performance. Okay, so we've gone the whole of November without a good run, whole of December without good. It's all very well saying 10 minutes here, quarter of an hour here, but no, it's not good enough. I mean, we haven't put a performance in. Now, is that down to the fact that the players we've got aren't good enough, the players we've got aren't motivated enough, or the manager's not good enough? Now, I don't know. A lot of people. He's very, very popular, isn't he? He's made himself very popular. I think beating the Jacks gave him a little bit of a free ride for a while. We all thought he was great. Similarly, you know, Ollie Tanner, you know, Ollie Tanner's come out, so I never need to buy a pint in the city again, so on and so forth. And I get that, okay, that was very, very, very important. But I just seem to think that he's ingratiated himself with the fans in a right way. I think that's great. And he's made himself very, very popular. And as a result, I think a lot of people won't have a bad word said against him. And if we lose the next 4 games, for example, I think they will. He's laid out a nice sort of excuses for himself almost, and said, "Oh well, you know, it's not my fault. I haven't got any. I haven't had any signings. Do we need signings to beat the likes of Preston at home? We've done it in the past, so." I don't know. I said before we came on, I am torn between. You know, I've never ever been an advocate of Tan, and I won't ever be an advocate of Tan. However, I'm not blindly a follower of Bulut either. I think he needs to prove himself. Now, if he gets the signings that he wants, or if we go on and we get a few signings and then we lose the games, is he then going to say, "Oh yeah, but I wanted 5 or 6. You've only given me 3"? I don't know. You know, I'm putting it out there. Sometimes, you know, we can be easily pleased, I suppose. I think the signing of Kiefer Moore, people are clutching at straws already, aren't they? I mean, Kiefer Moore, I think, liked the picture of Aaron Ramsey today on Instagram, and people are going, "Oh, he's like that because he's coming to the city." I mean, hang on a second. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. But I think personally, I think he'd have been a bigger man if he just shut up and got on with his job.
Yeah.
I've got to be honest with you. I just think, take it on the chin. You're the manager.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be the person there motivating the players. And I said before, if you're telling your players at the start of the transfer window,
Jonathan,
I want 5 or 6 replacements in, well, those people,
Jonathan
those
Wilkins.
players, I think, are going to be in a position whereby they're thinking, well, am I good enough to be in the starting 11? My boss wants to get rid of me. Man management, I don't think that was a good thing to do.
And Al, yourself, obviously, I know what you do. You're kind of you're in business and whatever, and you employ people and this, that, the other. And you mentioned, just to say, you mentioned that the sort of comments that Erol Bulut came out with after the match, that shall we say, in another professional environment, maybe wouldn't have been wise,
It's all very well saying things like that behind closed doors, but if it's a business and you've got a member of staff saying that about the person who owns the business, yes, I like his honesty, great, but by the same token, you can't then.
No.
Someone like Tan, I'd be amazed if Tan just said, "Oh, that's fine." Dalman's come out today, isn't he? He said, "Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it." He's.
Oh, has he? I didn't see that.
Yeah, he subsequently come out, so he's not going anywhere. Don't worry, don't worry. Well, I would imagine that Dalman's had to go up to Tan and go, "Oh, please don't look at these comments for God's sake, because this guy has just been slagging you off." Now, other City managers have gone for what I would say far less.
Yeah, you're right. Well, was that Wales Online, by the way, the Dalman?
Yeah,
thing?
it's come on BBC like late this afternoon.
BBC. Yeah.
So that's interesting. I'll just stick with you for now, because that's kind of interesting, because obviously, Erol Bulut was obviously essentially a Dalman appointment, wasn't he? And there's well, we think it came through that. That was the kind of claim that was kind of made at the time. There's the kind of Turkish connection and all the rest of it. If he's brought that guy in, and things are going a bit sour, that's not a great look for Mr. Dalman. And what I was thinking was, after those comments after the game, Erol, like you said earlier, again, by the way, it could be a language thing, maybe because his first language isn't English, or I think more likely his English is good enough that he gets a message across that he wants to get across. Because I suppose what he's trying to say is what we talked about on the show last week a bit. We were talking about, do we back, it's a back him or sack him kind of scenario, really. I'm not saying we're going to do that now, but we've only got 8.5 days now till the transfer window is closed. But I was expecting, Al, some sort of either a club statement, or either say, we fully support our manager, and we're still actively hunting targets. Transfer window doesn't come up for some time. We're still behind the scenes. Or bye Errol, and we're getting the new manager in.
I think typical Cardiff City. Okay, it's been a PR disaster. Okay,
yeah,
we've got the FFP rules. We knew about the FFP rules. If we weren't going to buy anyone, because it wasn't just, it's not just Bulut who's come out and said it. Tan, when he was over here, said he was going to spend money in January. Stupid thing to do. Keep your mouth shut. Keep your powder dry. Don't tell everyone else, "Oh, we've got money to spend." And I just think we've handled it from those above him to him. I just think we've handled it badly.
Yeah. Steve, anything to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm in business, and I'm nowhere near Al's pedigree, obviously.
No one is.
He's untouchable. He's untouchable. But as Al said, I think if an employee had come out in the public domain and made comments like that, he'd be in my office for sure. I was very surprised. He's either a very silly man, or he's a very astute man, Steve. Because as Al said there, he sort of laid the seeds that unless I get the players, then I may throw in the towel anyway. So then is Dalman panicking there straight away? But like Al just mentioned there, or alluded to, we all know what Tan's like, and Tan sacked Morrison. I think he was in a slightly better position regarding wins than Mr. Bulut is. and Bulut's really saying, well, unless you back me, unless I get my contract extended, then I'm probably going to be off anyway. I thought it was a crazy thing to do. But even crazier for me was calling the players out against Leeds United, because ultimately Mr. Bulut sets the team out to play as he wants. And they're on the pitch then to undertake his tactics. And I question his tactics, and I've done for 12 weeks, Steve. And I personally, if it was me, and after that outburst on Saturday, I would have changed personally. But then we're back to the same question of bringing. There's our dilemma. And would Tan invest in someone of better quality or proven quality? And I'm just going to throw it out there again, like a Steve Cooper, not necessarily him, but someone who's taken Forest up from the depths of the Championship to be promoted, or would he promote someone like Darren Pearce from the under-21s? I look at Al. I know, but it's not beyond the realms of possible. Or I'll throw another name for you, Al. Or would he return to Mr. Warnock just to keep us in the league this year? And then
I think he would. I think he would if we were struggling right down relegation zone and just above. I think he would. I think that's what he knows, isn't it? He doesn't know that much about football, so he goes back to Neil Warnock. But we've had some comments since these, so I will read them out. Obviously,
do you want to go? Yeah, you go to them, and then I go to Jonathan off the back of that.
Lee Griffiths has said he felt we were giving the ball away far too easily on Saturday, and it's costing us. He felt Wintle was poor for the first, Colwell for the second. Goals results from these silly mistakes. It's frustrating. Michael said Keeper Moore won't come. He was on the bench for Bournemouth yesterday. Also came on towards the end. Surely Moore's out of price range, and it is noticeable that situation has gone quiet. Steve Thomas, evening gents. Mehmet Dalman said today Errol's going nowhere, and we will get players in.
Has he said that?
No, he has.
But has he? Sorry to interrupt you.
We have to keep within FFP.
I'll come back to
our
that.
dealings. Do we really have to wait until the end of January? Wales keep the faith. 1969. If Bulut went, who would be City manager? Darren Pearce being promoted from within, which is what Steve said. Jeff Dela Cruz, 4.3 million for Illich. Will that be used as an excuse for not signing anyone? And then Wales keep the faith has just said no, not Warnock. Pretty please.
Please, yes, good loads of comments. Let's go through them. But just to go back to what Steve said, so and you can reassure me on this. And so Dalman's made a comment, but if you understand what I mean without having seen this, is this an official kind of comment on behalf of the club along the lines of what I said earlier? This is our manager. We're keeping him as our manager. We're actively looking at players, and we're moving forward. Is it that kind of statement, or is it
what he
an
said?
off-the-cuff comment from Dalman?
Yeah, so I've got it here. There we are. He's told BBC he's going nowhere. Errol is an important part of our plans. I want to assure supporters we are making every effort to get players in. It has been difficult, but we are still optimistic. So far in this market, there's been little movement. We are not alone. They always kind of do that little detract a little bit away from themselves. They always do this, don't they? Oh, it's not our fault. It's everyone. But if they knew this was going to happen, right? They knew it was going to be the market was good. It's going to be tight. There's not many teams in the division with any money at all. So why come out and raise? They did nothing to extinguish all these rumors about Kiefer Moore, did they? They kind of let them go. It's just Cardiff City, isn't it? Time and time.
January, though, notoriously is always the toughest window, isn't it? We all know that. It's the toughest. Everyone's looking for a centre forward. Everyone wants someone to score goals. And it is the toughest window. But then I look at our opposition on Saturday, Al. Plymouth have made 4 or 5 really good loan signings. Adam Forshaw, who had a really good game against us on Saturday, they brought him in on a free transfer from just the type of play that we want, a box-to-box midfielder, gets stuck in. They brought him in from Norwich on a free transfer. I think he was with Leeds before that, or Middlesbrough, but a really good midfielder. They signed a young kid from Spurs who's very good. A couple of my mates are big Spurs fans. They watch all their games up there, the under-21s and the reserve league, and it's another good signing. So Plymouth have been really active. I mean, they're below us in the table. You'd think that we would have had a bit of a shopping list somewhere for loans or whatever. earlier than this, wouldn't you?
But I go back to what we've said previously. We've got to Jonathan in a minute. Sorry,
Yeah,
Steve.
sorry, because we
mate.
can't see him. I think we're
I
forgetting.
can't shut up. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Go
John.
back to what I said before, right? You've got someone, right? Bullet hasn't got the players you've just talked about at Plymouth. Okay, they're Championship style or Premier League players who their scouting system will know as domestic league players. Okay, I've always said at City, who knows anything about football at Cardiff City? If Bullets come in, okay, from Turkey, who's there to have we got the scouting system in place that we know that we've got the likes of Steve Thomas has just said here. Remember the players we got in 2 years ago, Hudgil, Doyle, Doughty, Drama. Okay, have we got anyone, a domestic scout who knows the leagues well enough to get that sort of player in for us on loan? And I'm not sure. We just got another scout in last week, didn't we? We said that was it the Ukrainian lad or whatever it was. You know, again, it's I don't know.
So mystery no, it's a mystery interception from the wife then, but my wife, my fine wife. Trying to explain I'm doing a live phone in, but didn't get that so well. There we go. It all went a bit Cardiff City for me at home then. Jonathan, thoughts on what we've been talking about?
I noticed Saturday there was Kieran Ashford on a bench and Ruben Cole's brother on the bench. Now, you got youngsters there. Give them a go. Give them a run out to find out they're going to be good enough, you know. Play these youngsters, because what's the point of having these academies when you got youngsters there and you're not going to push them through? Like, that's another bit I couldn't understand as well. And Ruben's brother, he likes to put his foot in there as well, like, you know. But I don't think Kiefer Moore has come in. We probably known Cardiff City, as much as I love him, we probably end up with Dudley Moore. But
Patrick Moore, maybe?
Yeah, or Roger Moore. But,
no.
But you can have all the best strikers in the world. Because I was saying to Steve the other day, I went to that question and answer with Erol Bulut down at Cardiff City Stadium with Joe Rouse. And you're taking turns to ask questions. Corky gave me the microphone. I said to Errol, Joe, said to Errol, welcome to Cardiff City, blah, blah, blah. I said, Mr. Bulut, I said, this team has been crying out for a creative midfielder, someone can up the tempo of the game, lower the tempo of the game. Are we going to get this sort of midfielder? Because you're on about getting 2 or 3 signings back then. And they're like politicians, they won't answer the question. He turned around, he went to Joe Rouse, he went, oh, Joe, you're a midfielder, aren't you? But he knew where I was coming from, but he wouldn't answer the question. You can have the best strikers in the world, but if you haven't got anyone in midfield pulling the strings, they ain't going to score goals. You know, not being funny, it's not the Krypton factor, isn't it? You know.
I've had the Krypton factor on Roger Moore already.
Both good shows. I love The Saint.
Yeah.
What I say about that, John, and I don't know what you think, Stephen, Al. We could have Harry Kane playing as centre forward, okay, but we're not getting behind the defence. Our midfield are not pushing beyond our forwards. So coincidentally, there's absolutely zilch crosses going in the box or once in a moon, and that's the dilemma for Bulut. And as a coach, he must realise that we're not doing those things. We don't look like we're going to score from free play, Steve, do we? No. You know, all our goals are coming from set plays, aren't they?
I think the last time we might have done, I might be wrong. Did we get one from open play against QPR? Maybe. That's a while ago, then.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, possibly was. Yeah.
I mean,
but I'm just thinking back to, you know, I always go back and I know I always touch on it, Steve, but, you know, like the days where we have Willie Anderson and players like that taking players on the outside, get to the byline. You know, I watched Premier games on there yesterday and balls are being knocked in the channel beyond. That's what we're not doing. And that's
we kick the ball in the channel sometimes.
Yeah, the Bristol channel.
Yeah.
But that's the reason why Ruben Colwell has got to start at 10. And then, as Jonathan said, if Joe, I haven't seen Joe Colwell play, but I've listened to other people's opinions, and they say he puts a foot in. Why not give the kid a chance, Steve? He can't be any worse than what we've done the past 12 weeks in that midfield. Get him in, and the same with Ashford up front. We're not scoring goals. So let's give the kids a chance. He could have put them in Saturday, given them an hour, Steve, just to see how they did. There wouldn't have been any harm with that against Plymouth, I don't think.
Well, also, Al, I noticed on the weekend, I think we're allowed to have 9 subs these days, aren't we? We only had 8. So, you know, we could have put another kid on the bench. This kid, Raheem Conte, I didn't know anything about him, to be honest, but he was on the bench. Kean Ashford, we just given him a contract extension. I think he's a good one for the future, but I think even the experience of being on the bench for a first team game is fantastic for youngsters. So, right, I suppose he's trying to make a point by saying, look, I haven't got enough players, but you know, I think we might as well certainly give some game time to players. Even, you know, when we lose them, what we got to lose, yeah.
The route through seems a bit blocked, though, doesn't it? You know, these lads who played there alongside you, like Kieran Evans, who's gone away. You know, Denham, who's gone away.
He's back today, though, isn't he?
But even Isaac, who's gone away. You know, if you had a youngster at Cardiff City, I know it's great. Don't get me wrong. You know, I'd love to see him come through. But it does seem like there's a little bit of a glass ceiling whereby they reach a stage and then we're not willing to risk. You know, I was looking at, I know it's not the same, but you look at some in the Premiership as an example. Look at Liverpool and look at some of the youngsters they brought through. Right, I'm not. I hate comparing us to anything like that. But what I'm trying to say is that we don't take that risk with youngsters.
No.
Or we just let's give him Colwell. Let's just bring
10 minutes.
For one. Yeah, and I think as fans, I think we'd forgive a lot of youngsters as long as they put a big shift in. Yeah. What I don't like is the big money boys coming in and don't give a damn really about the club, and then it's more difficult. I mean, look, Robinson, for example, right? You know, big contract. Really, do you think he's doing any better than a youngster playing this trade? I don't think he does.
Al, are there more things? Maybe a few more.
Sorry, I'm going. It's one of those today. Isn't it?
No, it's great. No, it is one of those. Yeah, it is one of those.
It's one of those. Jeff Dela Cruz. My first game watching City was in 1962. Being Norwich with my dad. City went 2-0 up. We lost 4-2. A perfect start for a City fan. Nothing really changes.
Well done, Jeff.
Oh,
yeah, well done, Jeff. I wish I could remember my first game. I went, obviously went with my dad. I can't remember, but I knew Jeff's dad as well. So that's nice. I'll
Steve, sorry to butt in. Can I just touch on what Al said there with the youngsters? I watched a couple of games on the weekend. Preston against Leeds, loads of energy. Lots of youngsters in that side as well. And as Jonathan mentioned earlier, the Bristol game again, and Bristol have brought some really good kids through.
They have.
The past year or so. Bristol against West Ham. And there's just two examples of two championship sides. Middlesbrough, the same. They got some great kids. Sunderland, all playing kids coming through from the academy, all taking a little bit of a punt, Steve. And as Al said there's that ceiling, that glass ceiling, where we'll stick them on the bench for a few games. They might come on for 5 minutes, but that's it. And that's not good enough for me. I think we got to give them a go, especially after what we're witnessing on the pitch at the moment, which ain't the best, is it?
No, it isn't. Denham's come back to the club today, Steve. So it looked like he was Dunfermline. I think he was at it, which he hasn't had much game time. You know, could I don't know. You don't know any more than I do, but do you think that's a case of him coming back as a backup defender, or do you think it's just a case of let's ping him out somewhere else where he get more game time?
Well, I know he hasn't been doing too well up there for whatever reason, but funny enough, I was talking to a couple of the guys a few days ago about him, and I remember when he played up at Liverpool in that cup tie, and that was the first time I'd ever seen the kid.
He looked great that day, I thought, yeah.
I thought he was brilliant, Steve, that day. Yeah, I thought he had he looked assured, no nerves, got stuck in, used the ball well, and then he just sort of disappeared off the radar then, didn't he? He's on the evidence of that game there, I'd say he's worth bringing back into the squad. I don't know what the others think.
Well, Eli King played in that game as well, didn't he? And look what's happened to him.
So, and there's another one, yeah.
Who's that?
Eli King played that game as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
And look what look where he is at the moment. It's just I just think that what message they send into the youngsters, if we're not putting them through, perhaps they're not good enough. But you're only going to find that out by putting them in there, aren't you? I think.
And Joe, and the other thing, Al, from a fan's perspective, we all know, we all go back to the year when I first went with my dad. I was in the Canton stand as well, 1966 or whatever. Rodney Marsh has played with Queen's Park Rangers. I think we got hammered that day 4-2. I'm not sure. I mean, he definitely dived in the box like Rodney Marsh always used to do. But from a fan's perspective, there's nothing better than seeing local boys in the team, like a Ronnie Bird, like a Gary Bell, like all those boys, and yet there's the affinity then between the fan and the local kid who's done good. He's got in the first team like a Rambo, and he's playing well, and the fans would react to that.
Yeah, Jonathan, I'll bring you in on that because these guys they'll talk all day and we'll give you a chance. So just Jonathan, I was
Sorry,
talking
John.
the other week about the idea. I mean, if I was a Cardiff City manager, thankfully I'm not, but if I was, I'm pretty sure I'd be bringing Isaac Davis back. I'm pretty sure I'd be bringing Joel Bagan back because again, for that point, Jonathan, of the idea of particularly in Isaac's case, we get behind players when there's a connection between them and our club, don't we?
Absolutely, yeah, totally agree. Joel Bagan looked promising.
I like
against the Jack game when we got hammered 4-0. Well, not just him. I remember that game because I was steam was coming out my ears. Like we just looked like fighting rabbits out there. The game was lost before it started. They just look all of them. They look frightened, But against Coventry, he had a good game. Bagan, good goals. Isaac Davis, I like him. He's got a bit of pace. There's something about him.
I like him.
But as you know, gentlemen, our build-up play, it is just like having a tea pulled up by players. It's slow. It's like watching Ray Wilkins just going left, just going right, just going back. And it is really, it's tedious to watch. It's boring. There's no, you watch other championship teams play, they work in little groups of 2s and 3s, don't they? Like in their pass and their movement, and it's quick. But with us, it's tedious. It is. It's tedious to watch. It is. I'm screaming, get the ball forward, get it forward.
Yeah. It does go back. It does go back and forth and backwards across the middle, doesn't it? But Jonathan, what about the tactics that Erol has been employing? Because before he came to the club, he was interviewed and he said, he was asked about what formations he likes to play. He said 4-2-1 or 4-3-3, and he kind of religiously stuck with that pretty well, really. And I think the point with that is, from my point of view, I agree with. I think we're really missing Callum O'Dowda, by the way, but we don't. It's just a lack of width and a lack of service, like Steve was alluding to earlier, into the middle, and it's pretty kind of boring, and it's kind of like safe football, isn't it? It's not. It's nothing to get excited about, and I agree with you, Jonathan. There's not enough pace there. So, is it time to shake it up? Do you think tactically?
Oh, absolutely, big time. And it's not enough movement off the ball as well, Steve. As the game of football, it's pass and move, isn't it? You notice when we've got a throw in, whoever's got the ball to throw it, nobody's moving around. They're not losing their marker or nothing. And whoever's got the ball to throw, well, who do I give it to? And whoever's got the ball, there's no movement off the ball. There's no running into space. Nothing.
Yeah.
It's tedious. It's
tedious. Do you think, Jonathan? Do you think that's because? By the way, I'm hoping your sore throat is from the weekend. That'd be. Because I totally support
too much.
Yeah, but is that because there's too much of a? And I think this is the case, right? Like if we use the example of somebody like Ollie Tanner, who, in my opinion, if you got Ollie Tanner, if you're going to give Ollie Tanner a run, let him attack. He's not a defender. Let him attack. And is it that kind of negativity and kind of safety? Let's hang on to what we got, rather than, as you said, I think it was you, Jonathan, said it. Attack being the best form of defense. We're mid-table, right? We're miles off the bottom. Let's play some football and have a go. Do you think?
Absolutely agree. Like some players like Ruben Colwell, and I calls him Elsie Tanner, I do, and Ollie Tanner.
Nice reference.
Yeah. Let him play with freedom.
Yeah.
With freedom. Take them on. Get that run with that ball, take the player on and take that ball into the box. The defender, he may mistime his tackle, he may get a penalty. You don't know. You don't know. Attack.
Yeah.
Play with freedom. You know, and I think Ruben Colwell, he's about 6'2". He has got a lot to work on. He's got to learn how to jump and head the ball as well. And he strikes me as a very laid back type of guy. I don't think he's one of those who's going to put his foot in, you know. But he'd be great in a team with like world-class players around him, Colwell, like, and I'd probably bring the best out of him as well. But I agree with Steve. Play him as a number 10 and play with freedom. Play with freedom. Not getting all these players, right, you just do that job, you just do that, you just do that. You know, but it's very negative, it is. It's too defensive. It's that magic word again, Steve, isn't it? When you've got a side, and like with everything in life, you've got to get the right balance in you. You know, when you break away as a unit and you get back as a unit as well, like, you know, but we can't do either.
What I'd say about that, John, is as we chatted about the other night, for some reason we've gone from a flamboyant first few weeks of the season where we were scoring goals for fun, where he was playing that way, where he gave the players creative freedom, to I've seen him on a couple of occasions the last few weeks, especially with Bowler on our side. He's given him a hell of a hard time because he's not chasing back. And like you just said there, Steve, the creative players, for God's sake, just let them play. I mean, Tanner's more concerned, and I saw him puffing like LC Tanner on Saturday on a couple of occasions. You know, out of breath. He's more worried about getting back and doing defensive duties rather than doing what he's good at, like you said, Steve. There was, and the second half on Saturday, as Jonathan said there's no movement on the floor. And I witnessed Mete. He's just stood there waiting for the ball. There's no crossing over like you see other sides do. But more importantly, on Saturday second half, there was no pattern of play whatsoever when you looked at it. It was shocking.
Yeah, we'll go back to Al in a second, but Al, just looking at the stats now for Cardiff City, and there's a few things which stand out here. I mean, the good news first, I think we had 14 different players score for us this season. Okay, the bad news is no one scored very many. So Perry NG is now joint top scorer, right? A defender, joint top scorer, only one goal ahead of Dimitrios Gutas, another defender. You know, so that's not great. And Yaku Mete, Al, I'll ask you this about him. And I'm not personalising him, but I honestly don't think he's a striker, because if we look at it, right, his looking at the stats on that now, he's got one goal in, I think, 25 appearances. His goals per 90 is 0.06, and his minutes per goal are 1,503. So, you know, and it makes me think about the players that were brought in, like the loan signings. We think Ugbo didn't work, Panzo's gone back to Forest. Runnison had a little go, and now he's on the bench. Bowler has his moments, and probably Grant is the pick of the bunch. But a kind of waste of loans, isn't it? You know, and we said about the number, we can bring loan players and bring two in now. But I mean, what is Yaku Mete's position?
I know it should be.
Go on, I'll see it.
He should be anywhere near that. He should be anywhere near that.
Hang on, is there a taxi meter involved in this?
He shouldn't be anywhere near that team. It's funny, isn't it? Right, the weird thing that's Cardiff City. Okay, Gutas, NG, and McGuinness, solid back three of the four. Right, three of our best players this season. So it's everything in front of them that's been going wrong. And we just haven't we just haven't been able to nail it. You know, like Steve said earlier, you know, who's going to go at 10?
Midfield,
as an out-and-out striker. And as City fans, we can all name a back four, if you like. And then going forward, right, who's there? Oh, well, we don't really know. We're not sure. We're putting, Shopsis is he's fallen off a cliff, really.
He was dropped, wasn't he?
I put all this background. Now, this is just purely coincidental, I'm sure. But when he started messing around with the goalkeeper, is when all this started to go belly up. Okay.
Yeah.
He seemed to be settled. With a settled back five, if you like. And then all of a sudden, I tell you, I'll bring him in. And he brought him in. He made some excuses for him, which weren't very good excuses. And then everything seems to have gone down from there. Now, that could just be a coincidence, Steve. I'm not saying it's Rennison's fault.
No, it's a good point.
Strange, isn't it? I think everyone would agree that Gutas, McGuinness, and NG have been our solid performers.
But the name you haven't mentioned there, Al, of course, is Collins, right? So Collins, obviously, he hasn't gone to the African Cup of Nations. Because he played on the weekend, I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying we now have to offer him a 1-year extension. Whether or not he's interested, I don't know. Because we talked about him signing a contract ages ago, and there's no sniff of it. But should we be thinking about, and we've got a couple of weeks now for the next game, but should we be dropping Collins? Do we desperately need to get somebody in to back up at left back? He looks like he's just not the same player, is he?
We mentioned it every week the name Joel Bagan, haven't we?
Yep.
I think if Bagan and Isaac Davis were at the club, no one would have a word said against those two now if they were brought back and added to that squad. Okay,
I love them back.
You've referenced, you've referenced a striker who's quite clearly not a striker. Isaac Davis would have scored more goals during that period. I've got absolutely no doubt at all about it. Okay,
yeah,
and
you're right.
I think I am a big fan of him, and I think if he comes back from there, sending a young lad across to Belgium on his own like that, I don't think it's in his best interest. But I'm sure he'll come back stronger for it, and I hope that we don't just get Isaac Davis back and then just throw him out, because that's just no way to treat him as far as I'm concerned.
It gives me another chance to mention Hercule Poirot, because he's Belgian. let's just put it in there again, Steve, sorry.
Absolutely one of my favourite. I'm the world's biggest Agatha Christie fan, Steve. But I just want to throw something in here. Jonathan Panzo, right? When we signed Jonathan Panzo, I was over the moon. Why? Because because we all know, probably on this show tonight, that he was one of the Coventry's best players last year. He's a left-sided centre back. He could probably cover left back. But the mystery to me, Steve, is I think he came on as sub in the Ipswich game, made a little bit of a boo-boo on the front post, and they nicked the goal. And from that point onwards, Bulut never gave that kid a chance. And to me, that's a massive mystery. Did Bulut fall out with Panzo? Because I don't think we started with Panzo in one game. He may have come on a couple of times, 10 minutes, 20 minutes here as a sub, but he never had a chance. And when you look at JC, who's clearly struggling, and the games the last few weeks at home, teams have just been bombarding our left side because they know it's a big weakness. So we've got no cover. But Panzo could have probably covered there. And P.S., Panzo could also have covered to our flagging defence, who he rested against Sheffield Wednesday in the Cup. Panzo's never been given a chance. So if your defence are flagging from whatever reason, then surely you've got to give the kid a game. He never had a chance. Now,
I always wonder. When we bring youngsters in particular on loan, okay, for a very, very, very sort of short period, okay. You've got to think what's going on behind the scenes. And I only say this because after the Swansea game, we were in a not particularly high budget hotel having a drink afterwards, and in his quite late on in his City tracksuit walked Jonathan Panzo, and I was like, what's he doing in this hotel this time of night? And they just got him in some bloody budget hotel on the outskirts of Cardiff, right? He's not going to be able to settle. He wasn't in the Vale, right? He's in the he was in the Village Hotel. And they just put him up there, and he's thinking, that lad is on his own.
All right, the Village Hotel, it's not bad.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong in it, but if I'm an aspiring Premiership footballer, okay, I'm wanting. I just think it didn't feel like he was particularly looked after.
It's a waste of a loan, wasn't it?
Absolute waste. Yeah, absolute waste. And it's a mystery if you've got a player of that caliber, Steve, why he didn't get a start. More especially because Bulut was saying, the players are tired and that's why we got to rest players in the Cup. Well, you could have put Panzo in against Rotherham or someone like that, some of the just to give the players a rest if they were that fatigued, especially with JC as well.
Yeah, he needs a break. Just to mention a couple of things, which I was going to mention tonight. I think there's going to be some sort of announcement this week about this show, and it's going to be shared elsewhere through a thing called Cardiff City World. And so Simon Willis, hi Simon, wanted me to mention this. There's a new channel, I mentioned it the other week, launched by Ace Podcast Nation called Cardiff City World. Subscribe for free to youtube.com @Cardiff City World, launching very soon. There's a 2-part Michael Chopra. How we do with him, by the way, at the moment. City Legends event, and the channel is going to feature weekly previews, analysis, podcasts, ex-players, latest news and more. And he says, make Cardiff City World your hub for all Bluebirds content and news in all one place. So obviously you might guess where we're going to be working with quite soon. Also, one of my students, Liam Morgan, who's a final year media culture and journalism student, also a City fan, as a number of my students, which is quite nice. That's not why I give them better marks, by the way, but it didn't do any harm, yeah. But I was hoping that Leah would come on the show tonight to represent, because we need some female representation, and she's and the younger element as well. So if there are female fans listening to the show, which I'm sure there are, please get in touch, and we'd love to get more female representation on. But she's also going to be launching some stuff on social media. There's going to be a new Instagram account, and I suppose one thing that could happen there, Jonathan, is if we had a Cardiff City Phone in Instagram account, where I think would be really nice, going back to what you said, you won't have probably a photo from those times, but I'm guessing as City fans, you've probably all got photographs and memories of matches over the years and memorabilia and stuff. It might be a really nice, thing to do. I'm guessing, Jonathan, have you got like a big program collection or anything, or anything, Cardiff City memorabilia?
All upstairs in the cupboard, going.
There we go, the cupboard.
77, yeah, loads. I had to stop getting them. Obviously, loads, absolutely loads.
Well, we're all like that, aren't we? I think, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you'd have some pictures to contribute to that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
1977, right? Let's just towards the end of the show. 1977. Apart from like punk music and all the rest of it, in terms of football, that fantastic City kit. Those players of that time, and as Steve mentioned it a bit earlier, Jonathan, if we go back to like 76, 77, what kind of players come into your mind, and which of those 1976, 1977 players do you wish were like 40 years younger and could play for us now?
Ron Healy was my idol. I loved Ron.
I love Ron Healy, yeah.
Yeah, because I was a goalkeeper myself, and I used to watch him and to copy everything that he did, to be totally honest. And he won the tallest of keepers, but I tell you what, he was good on crosses. And I'll never get to see up in Swansea when Leighton James, 1981, and I thought it was a goal, was going top left-hand corner, and he dived over and he caught it. Unbelievable. He was a top keeper, he was, late Ron Healy. I loved him, I did. And I talked to Andy Dibble now and again, and Ron Healy spotted him, Andy Dibble, like.
Oh, did he?
Spotted him. Yeah, he brought Dibble to the club when he was a youngster. And they're pretty close, like the time Ron Healy and Dibbs, like. But I did. Even used to have that the Bluebird badge, obviously, but the Republic of Ireland badge as well, because he had two caps in 76 against Poland, and 1980 when he come off for Jerry Payton, he played for Fulham, and Keegan lobbed him, like. Yeah.
Wow, you've got a great memory.
Oh, yes, got a good memory. Yeah, really good. Yeah.
So you're going back 47 years there, Jonathan. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're just recounting it straight away. But what, in a nutshell, just what do you think? How would you compare? I know we don't know these players, right? We didn't really know them. We love them, but we didn't really know them. The money they were on then to the money these guys sitting on the bench for us now. Yeah. And the social media thing and how things have changed. It's almost like a different game. But I wonder what somebody from that 76, 77 kind of squad would say to motivate our current squad. What do you think we could benefit from in terms of their kind of attitude towards the game?
Myself personally, I put that Cardiff City strip from 75 to 80. You won't get a better strip than that.
Fantastic, absolutely.
Only to speak for myself, like, but
best kit ever.
Multi-billionaire. I'd buy Cardiff City, and that'd be the permanent strip. The whole that striped one, the white and yellow, the blue, and the yellow one away with the white and blue.
Yeah.
I love that kit.
So we just got to get you a few billion now.
Yeah.
I think that gives
I was going to ask you, Steve. I wasn't there now.
Sorry,
but and I put that shirt on the dressing room, I would, and I'd have photos of Phil Dwyer there, and I'd say, if you do want to play for this club, and Phil Dwyer would run through brick walls for you.
Absolutely, my all-time favorite player.
Yeah, if you do want to play for this club, there's the door.
Yeah.
Quite simple.
Yeah.
Quite simple. And against Leeds and Leicester, I saw players I wouldn't have it if I was in charge, walking around the pitch. They'd be off after the first minute. They'd be off. Simple as. like you, gentlemen, I love this club, even though sometimes they break my heart, but I just love them. That's it.
So
And
just before we finish with Jonathan, just to
sorry,
ask you
Steve.
this, sorry, just to say, because you go to the away games, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, Cardiff City are going back to it again with their fan base, and you're traveling all over the place, right? Like many others. Do you think the football club, as in the kind of like the mechanics of running of the club, do you think they understand what a fantastic fan base they've got, and if so, how do they show that?
I don't think they do, to be totally honest.
No.
I really don't think they do. And as you know, that stadium is designed to have another tier, like a horseshoe, to go up to nearly 60,000. Steve and I were on about this. As you know, you've got the Rhondda Valley, and it's a massive fan base, and I just can't understand why someone can't just, say for argument's sake, buy Vincent Tan out, just buy him out. But there again is £120 million debt in it. That might be putting them off, but it's got so much potential, and
Yeah.
to stay in the Premier League. And this is what I think Cardiff City went wrong when we went up with Warnock. In my opinion, what they should have done is said, "Thank you, Mr. Warnock. Nice little bonus for getting us up, and got a Premier League manager in who knows what it takes to stay in that league and to get established and to stay in that league." I think that's what they should have done, Cardiff City. Myself personally,
Spot on.
I'm not running the show there tonight, but it's got so much potential. It's got they got that new complex down Lanrumney. They got the Vale, fantastic stadium. Everything's in place, and the fans are passionate. And there's something about Cardiff City that is special. I find it hard to explain, but it's just something about the place, Cardiff City, and it's special, and it'll always be there in my heart, like you
So
guys, it'll always be
thank
there.
you, John. So that's that's the kind of thing, Al, isn't it? The Phil Dwyer thing, and Jonathan speaking about how much he loves the club and how much it means to him, and 16 to 1700. But Plymouth is not the easiest place to get to. You've got to go all the way around and down and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Getting battered, Al, the fans like Jonathan, the City fans, they deserve so much better. Just nice, wouldn't it be nice to think that the club actually heard stuff like that?
I think slowly but surely we're getting a little bit better, okay, and slowly but surely they got the fans advisory board that's coming up, okay. It might well be okay. Well, our hands been forced with that because it's going to become law. Everyone's going to have to have them. But there's some fan engagement. But again, the ex-players thing, we through Facebook, we've kind of got to know Peter Kitchen and all this sort of stuff, okay.
Yeah.
We've had to put Peter Kitchen in touch with the club. I wrote to the club saying, I know Peter Kitchen through Facebook, and I've been in touch with him quite a lot. I can get him this, get him that, get him that. I've never had a response to my emails. You just can't believe it,
Yeah.
I've sent emails, nothing at all has come back. And you go back to your thing then, Steve. How many times have we said to the club, get involved on the show?
Okay?
Well,
you know as well as I do that on behalf of the show, which we've been doing for 20 years, we have and at sometimes had a really great relationship with the club. I can't say we have that now, and I've contacted Mehmet Dalman through his personal email, and nothing, zero.
Last year, okay, we had the chap on the show, okay, who ran City's social media on a Saturday. He was a student who was doing it as work experience. And he was a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
And we had to tell him what to do to get things a bit better. And then he started doing it. And we were like, this is mental. There's no one at the club who's experienced enough what's going on. The fact is, I think, and okay, it'll never happen, but we need Cardiff City fans in charge of Cardiff City. And until that happens, it's never, ever, ever going to work as far as I'm concerned. But there we go.
No, but we got to do it. But having fans and getting the message from the fans to the club, it's so obvious. But that's a step in the right direction. A couple of things we haven't mentioned tonight. Of course, Smithies has decided to retire at Leicester at the age of 33, which is quite young for a keeper, really. Really good keeper, I think, in his time. We haven't got on to tonight, but I'm sure we will in future shows. The current situation in terms of the monies which are being talked about for the Salah compensation, and something like 60 or 70 million they're talking about in terms of if we'd stayed in the Prem. Lots to talk about there. But we got 8.5, 8 and 8 1/3, something like that, days till the end of the transfer window. So I just whiz around just quickly. I appreciate we've slightly overrunning now, but unless there's any other comments, but it's quite a big week, big 8 days for the club. Jonathan, what do you actually honestly think is likely to happen over these next 8 days till the 31st?
It's not looking good, Steve. I got a bad feeling we're not going to get anyone. I've got a good feeling about it. I hate being negative, I try to be positive, but it's not looking good.
Okay, so you think you think we possibly won't get anyone. We'll stick with that. We'll stick with Erol Bulut then, yeah, and just not sign anyone.
As I said this to Steve. If I was the club, if we didn't get any plays in and they pulled the bolt out and got Cooper in, something like that, we can get the best out of this lot. I'd be happy with that, because I don't think that he's the right man for the club. But I'm sorry, he's just not doing it for me, Steve. I'm sorry, but he's not.
No, well, you and a lot of other people at the moment. Steve, what's your thoughts briefly on that?
I'm in the same boat with the manager, Steve. I'm not convinced at all. I think we may get an odd loan or two. I don't think there's going to be much money spent at all. You never get value for money in January anyway. A couple of loan signings, I think they're going to be lower league signings if we're lucky. And we're not going up. Are we going to go down? Well, unless Mr. Bulut pulls his finger out, we're going to be flirting with relegation. So if they do decide to stick with him, let's hope that he gets on the front foot, Steve. Please.
And Al,
I'll give you my prediction for Watford on the 3rd of February. City will sell out their allocation, which they've done already. So there you go, going back to fans. 2,000 tickets, all done. So we're all saying this, and we got 2,000 tickets sold. It's fantastic, isn't it? The fans are the lifeblood of the club. They're the people who deserve our praise more than anyone on the field at the moment.
Definitely,
and certainly more than anyone in the dugout. But yeah, 2,000 sold already. Brilliant.
So, but as a businessman and a lifelong Cardiff City fan, in the last, the dying embers of the transfer window, do you see any kindling, hopeful little fires going on? Is anything good going to happen?
All I see is grave disappointment, because that's what I'm used to be honest with you. Yeah, I just know. I don't know. I don't know. I think that a Keeper Moore signing would keep everyone happy. But someone had already said a comment there. I didn't realise he played yesterday against Liverpool. If he's still coming on, they're not going to let him go, are they?
No.
So we normally have a joke about now, but there's not going to be one tonight by the look of it. Jonathan, thanks very much for coming on for the first time. Great to have you on the show. And Steve and Al, thanks a lot. And
Thanks,
by next Monday, let's see what happens.
Yeah, fingers crossed.